Well, I was going to show you I do have a curve sensor on my simulation, but I won't bring it out because I don't know where it is. I can save this for another time. We're probably about out of time. I can talk briefly, but I'll really try to speed this up. I was going to go into, gee, how would you make a program like this? But I think I'm going to skip that today. What I did is I made the program. I did it in processing. You can go look at the source code. And also I made, I don't know, about half a dozen programs attempting to kind of simplify what goes into making sort of an interactive tool like this. So what you'll see on the repository will be this program, which is about 1,500 lines. But I thought, gee, to look at that, it's a little tough. So I did do a few like 150 line renditions where I kind of have a little bit of explanation. But if people are interested, I can talk about that future date. But so for now, my goal was to finally produce what I said I'd produce, which is an interactive course editor. So here is the course. This is, of course, for the novice and challenge and whatever the other one is.
Advanced.
Advanced. And these are courses that Doug Parody designed, I believe. Were you the sole designer of those?
I designed this course.
Okay.
And I also put the blocks together.
Okay.
So
I take it
the other ones are, every time we do them are different.
Right. But anyway,
this doesn't until somebody solves it.
So Doug designed the basic template for these tiles. So what I did is I decided, gee, it would be nice, and then Carl came up with the map coordinate, and actually Carl built the challenge, whatever, rebuilt it, edited Doug's work and rebuilt the course, and that's what we have printed now. But I kind of like the idea of being able to quickly cobble up a course, smaller dimensions, whatever, and this might be a useful tool, or maybe not. We'll see, I guess, how it pans out. But the idea here is that you interactively create the course. This took me 10 minutes to drag all these features. I timed myself. I was curious how long it would take. And it should be pretty good. When I built it, I just had a couple of things I had to correct, but I can kind of show you how it goes without getting into it. I'll go ahead and I'll blow away Carl's work there. Well, that's actually not Carl's work. It's mine / whatever.
You did it in 10 minutes.
So, yeah. So anyway, but I was able to look at your
5
course.
minutes.
But anyway, the way this goes is you just interactively drag tiles, and what happens is we rely on keyboard shortcuts, so they're printed in front of you there. So I have R for rotate, so I can rotate, and so we can come in here. It's pretty quick, and then I can also go in and edit, for example, and I don't have the ability to multi-select. There's only so much you get for 1,500 lines of code. But I do have the ability to quickly clone things by holding down the Shift key. And let's see what else. Oh, we can easily do like inverts, and then like jogs. Let's see, J toggles the jog, and then like width. We can toggle the widths, which is kind of cool. And anyway, so I think it's a pretty fun and easy to use tool. And when you get through with setting up a course, then you can just export the SVG file, and you're done. And then as far as really the only other part of the thing is to keep it streamlined, I do have a template that you load. For example, here's a 3x3, and this template file, you'll see there's about 10 parameters, everything from grid thickness to whether or not you want the grid letters, although you can, let's see, I think we can control those with a B now. Oops, I don't know why, wait a minute. Oh, we have maybe a bug. Oh, no, we need some, let's put some geometry in there. Let's see if it's going to work. I hope I can toggle these. Let's see. Ah, a bug. Okay. For some reason, that's not toggling.
It's an undocumented feature.
An undocumented feature. But I have a number of, let's see, little silly tests.
The customer support button.
There's a little 5x7. Anyway, so there it is. The format that this is saved in is a kind of like a tile-based format where every tile that has something in it, there's a simple mnemonic language that I generate that says what tile and what the parameters and so forth are, invert, not invert, and so forth. So it's pretty simple if you look at that tile format to understand what it looks like. And I'll kind of show you just quickly, but I won't spend much time.
That's pretty awesome.
Hey, Ron, what about stains and stuff?
Oh, yeah, stains, let me show you about those. I kind of hard-coded stuff, so let's see if we, I'll load in, let's just load in a file here.
I mean, compared to the Inkscape method, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, oh, so if we want to come in here, a
so we
stain
have to
is
do
just
solve one of
simply
these.
like, we can put a 20% stain there, or a 4, 2, 4, 6, and 8.
What are you hitting, an S?
Yeah, actually, I'm just pressing a key, 2, 4, 6, or 8, oh, sorry, for the stains, and then there's a logo.
Oh, I got it.
Is an L, I think.
Oh, cool.
So we can pop logos on it wherever we want. Now, there are some cases, for example, the 2x2 tiles, let me just clear this. Really, the 2x2 tile exists as a single tile, but it just happens to crawl over multiple tiles.
Yeah.
So there'll be cases where you could create illegal geometry. For example, I could drop that even though it's not really supposed to be there.
It's illegal now, but
Well,
probably once we solve the course, someone will
Yeah,
say,
okay, so
"Oh, now
anyway,
gotta
so you
do this."
can do things that do require a little thought
Give
as
this
far
to
as, is this legal or not?
Well, this is cool.
They'll
Now,
create something.
have you actually, by any chance, tried to have a export to, a banner could be made straight from it?
Well, that's a good question, Doug, and I thought about that, walking in here, wouldn't it be nice to say, oh, look, here, I got one printed, but I feel pretty good, in fact, let's look at,
Or on the spot,
some
say,
exported
here's today's
stuff.
challenge
Let's
course.
see.
Yeah.
Look at the sketch folder here, the data holds the SVGs, let's see, so if I go in here, well, here's the simple, well, let's look at the whole course one, why not? Let's look at Challenge Course 2019. Let's see, that one doesn't have the borders. Let's get the one with the borders. Wait a sec. Let's see. We're looking for Challenge Course. Interesting. I hate when there's no extensions visible. Wait a minute.
That's an SVG.
Well, we'll just go with this one. This doesn't have Carl's coordinates on the edge.
Right.
But, let's see, Inkscape, I'll look for that. Oh, probably unnamed. Wait a minute, no, 120K. And the big deal here is the export. One problem I did have is I couldn't say that I was wanting to export in inches or something like that. So it kind of gets exported in pixels. And for some reason, don't ask me. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see how big this one is. Wait a minute.
That's 100.
Okay, this is in inches. Okay, this you would need to get crafty to scale it properly. And so you'd have to come over here and scale it to like 19,200 DPI. But the other, let me.
That's right, because they usually
come
send
back
it
to
as a
this.
ping, right? Yeah.
That's a 150 DPI ping.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I thought it
right.
was 200 for the banners.
I followed
No.
your instructions, I think it's 150.
Oh, is it 150?
150.
Okay. Oh, okay. I had a little senior moment in my template here. Let's see if we can find this, just to show you what the template
Actually,
looks like.
it's documented in the GitHub for the contest.
Yeah, I'm sure it's 150.
Oh, okay. I had a senior moment, thought it was 200.
Sorry.
They probably don't care. They probably scale it, but.
Yeah, you have to tell them how big you think it is.
Yeah, the overall thing. It's
Yeah.
already a bunch of pixels at 150.
Oh, here's challenge course. Okay. wait.
For 7 foot by
That's an
13
SVG.
course at 150 DPI. That's a lot of pixels. Yeah.
Let's
It
try
takes
and
quite a
see.
while to load in the browser.
Inkscape. SVG document. Open Inkscape. Okay, the way I set it up is in the header of the file, whatever you call that template. I do have templates that are set up at 200 DPI now. I need to revise those to probably 150. And so here we go. Okay, so this has been scaled kind of in pixels. As you can see here, this is 5,000. So in my case, I'm treating each tile as 200 DPI, so about 2,400 dots to the inch per tile. So my total here is 3,200 by 16,800, so whatever number of pixels that is, 100 million. Anyway, so there it is, and that should be ready to go. If you export that PNG, then that should be banner printable. But okay, I'll verify some of that. I'll have to get something printed just to show that it is recorded. But, oh, and just quickly on this, let's see, so these LFT, let me get the challenge course. Oh, well, this is good enough. Wait a minute, I was just gonna get the physical file. Oh, darn it, I don't have Notepad Plus. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna rename this text.
60 years ago.
Just 60, because I don't know how to get it open that quick. But anyway, so I'm gonna just load this into a Notepad so you can see what it looks like.
But I haven't applied the servo theories to it.
That's right.
So this is what the
We've all
file looks
probably
like.
driven
on this.
them, but
At the top,
maybe
we've
design.
got various parameters, and the big one, SVG scale. So there's a screw up there, that should be 200. At SVG scale 1, it outputs as inches, but then Inkscape's confused because there's no way for me to tell it that it is inches and not something else. So anyway, that stuff there defines all the goodies, and then this defines what's in each tile.
Nice.
Now, I did explore an incremental tile interpreter. Do I have a few minutes for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll keep it short. We good? Couple?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I won't ramble on long. Oh, so I built this tile thing, and it was built after I built this tool that I'm going to show you. And let's see if we've got it. Course interpreter. Okay, so I started out thinking, gee, wouldn't it be nice to produce something that, let's see if it's going to do this. Wait a minute. Okay, so here is a different format, and I'll show you what that, okay, so that format produced this. Gee, it looks familiar. It's Carl's coordinated thing, whatever, but there's all the geometry. Now, the one thing I did cheat on, okay, everything is good except for this gate. I manually produced some, I used drawing commands like I do here. And in reality, it might have been nice to import this from an SVG file. And in fact, the stains are imported from SVG. So, there's a case of the tool works pretty well with being able to import SVG, and the same with the DPRG logo. It's not perfect, there was a little glitch with that. But anyway, let me show you the format on this. I thought it was kind of neat, but I then had second thoughts, and it wasn't good for doing interactive editing. But the format that I started with was a language format that only cared about what tile you started in, and then it cared about what happens with each feature. So in other words, if we drive forward and we're pointing north, we'll call that north, we move from row C to row D. And the tile interpreter tracked all of that. So these tiles are all defined as just simple arc left, arc right, just simple things like that with no tile information at all other than where we started. The problem is when you write this program, which is about 70 odd steps, if you mess up one thing, if I accidentally put a turn there, I'm now way out of kilter and the whole thing becomes a mess. It's really hard to debug. So I didn't get carried away with single step, but what I did add is the ability to say, okay, end the program here, so I can at least verify that segment. But just for fun, I'll show you what the course looks like in that language. Let's see, and then I'll be done. You can be rid of me. Okay. So, and this is also in the repository, so if you're interested in this, you could look at it. Okay, so the challenge course, there's the SVG. Okay, here's the physical description of it. Let's see, I have to rename it again because I don't know how to quickly tell it to use Notepad for this. So I'm just doing the easy way here. Okay, so here's, in fact, the header of this, I describe what the language, all the commands are and what the modifiers. So every instruction is one of these commands here. There's only a handful. Then they do include like left arc, right arc. But then I have all the modifiers, which are, is it wide or thick, or is it got a stained background, etc. So anyway, but the interesting thing is the entire course reduces to this. Okay, so this is my comments on the right-hand side of the semicolons.
Yeah.
But your whole course, from starting at C12, is just that stuff right there. So, of course, I'm using very terse mnemonics. And anyway, to help you, I do create an assembly listing, so that
It's the language of Ron.
becomes, yeah. But here's what, watch what I did, is I couldn't stand reading it, so what did I do? Is when I interpreted it, I show you where it is. So this is added on, with just these simple instructions, little goof there. And then I also annotated it. So this is sort of like an assembly listing for that. But the thought was, gee, that might be kind of neat to have something like that. But I later just decided that if anything, you're going to be running something on a fairly powerful machine. Why not, you know, I thought, oh, we could render tiles in real time. Just have a big bitmap image of the course if you wanted to play the game of referencing, you know, a model of the course while you're driving it, trying to correlate them. So that's all I got.
So what you're saying is that the left-hand column is what tile number, the tile number
Yes.
for that one?
Yeah, deduced by the interpreter.
Yeah.
So the interpreter is smart enough to know that if we're headed west, and that was a pain to write. Because especially when you have, so in other words, you have any one of 4 orientations. And then if you curve left, curve right, those are pretty simple. If you drive straight, if I was headed north, then, you know, I increment or decrement my column or my row and keep the column the same. But boy, the tricky ones were like the acute thing. You end up headed the other direction in like 1 tile away, but then you had all 4 cases of those. You know, it took me a little time to get all that stuff debugged. And then when I got all through with it, I thought, what am I doing? My goal was to make a tile editor. And in a tile editor, you want to know for every given tile where it is. And this is ridiculous. But anyway, I thought it was a fun kind of exercise and kind of I felt like I had to
Down
make
the
it
rabbit
work.
hole.
Yeah, anyway, so that's the thing there. But anyway, I have that on the GitHub thing. And then as far as the interactive tile editor, I have a couple sample programs that would help you see kind of what's involved in a, like a 150-line thing that lets you create a like a real dumbed down version of the course creator. You could click and select either line or arc, and then we think, oh, you could rotate them in place. But it kind of shows the geometric transforms and how they're applied in using processing. And I've really liked processing. The only shortcomings for me are the GUI tools that to add on a GUI interface are kind of limited. In fact, I hand coded those stupid buttons on that on the interactive editor. I thought, well, I didn't want to introduce the complexity of bringing in a GUI tool, so I just, you know, wrote the button stuff. It's not perfect, but anyway, that's it.
Wow.
All right, any questions or anything?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Massive amount of work, guys.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to have the real stuff that applies to what we're doing. I wasted my time, and, you know, instead of working on the real problem. All
Working on
right.
the simulator for the problem.
Making a robot.
Ah, somebody else, we've got some show and tell. Oh, it's-
That's all.
So, 1.5 milliseconds. It gives me basically a center. Okay. 1 millisecond, here's 90 degrees to the left.